Create an interesting video about keeping goldfish. Goldfish are one of the most popular pets in the world, but they're also one of the most neglected. There's a reason for this, though. They're pretty cheap to buy and pretty easy to take care of. This means that people often get them without fully understanding what it takes to keep them happy and healthy. In this video, we lions talk about everything from how much space do they need to how often should you feed them. Let's begin. The biggest problem with goldfish is that they're usually kept in small, unfiltered bowls or tanks with no plants or hiding places. Even if you can't see it, there's still plenty of room for improvement. First off, a goldfish needs at least 20 gallons of water to be comfortable, so the bigger the better. While some will say goldfish are messy and don't need filters, this isn't true. Goldfish produce a lot of waste, and if left untreated, their water can become toxic very quickly. The general rule of thumb is 1 inch of fish per gallon of water. So for every inch of goldfish you have, you'll want to have at least 1 gallon of water. And because goldfish can grow up to 14 inches long, you can see why they need a big tank. Another thing to consider is that goldfish are cold water fish, so you won't need a heater or a filter that's made for tropical fish. But a good sponge filter and regular gravel vacuum will go a long way. Plants are also great to have, as not only do they look nice, but they help clean the water by absorbing toxins and providing hiding places for your fish. The next big problem is their diet. Goldfish are scavengers by nature, meaning they'll eat just about anything that gets into the water column. Most pet stores sell a high-protein fish food that's meant to be given in small amounts 2 or 3 times a day. It's important not to overfeed your fish, as leftover food will pollute the water. Goldfish are also known for being excellent at finding any uneaten food you might have missed, but it's best to err on the side of caution and only feed them what they can consume in a couple of minutes. And if you do happen to notice any uneaten food after the water change, remove it. If you've got plants in the tank, especially live ones, your goldfish may try to eat them. Therefore, it's best to get ones that are safe for consumption. Like these, Java fern and anubias are great options. The roots and leaves are soft, and they won't harm your fish if eaten. You'll notice that the leaves on this plant here have been chewed up a little bit, but that's okay. Finally, goldfish can be quite delicate, so it's important not to do anything that will shock their system. Temperature changes and new chemicals can really stress them out, so it's best to add any medication slowly and according to the directions on the bottle. Now that we know how to keep them happy, let's talk about what kind of personality they have. Goldfish are peaceful community fish and get along well with other non-aggressive species. They're also quite intelligent and can be trained to recognize their owners. They also love exploring, so adding new things to the tank can be very exciting for them. And even though they can be kept in cold water, it doesn't mean you should. Aim for around 72 degrees Fahrenheit. This will make them more active and increase their metabolism, which in turn helps them digest food and stay healthy. Next, let's talk about their appearance. Goldfish come in a variety of colors and shapes depending on the breed. Most goldfish you'll find at pet stores will either be common or fancy. Common goldfish are larger with a streamlined body that's great for fast swimming. Fancy goldfish come in a variety of shapes and sizes and typically have shorter, more compressed bodies. Some common fancy breeds include the bubble eye, which has a pair of air sacs that protrude from its head, and the fantail, which has long flowing fins. All goldfish have a single dorsal fin, but some like the ranchu have none at all. Then there's the aronda, which has a large fleshy growth on top of its head called a crown. One of my favorites is the telescope eye, which has protruding eyes that give it a goofy appearance. Finally, we have the shoebinkin, which has a calico pattern of orange, black, and white. No matter the breed, goldfish typically live for 5 to 10 years, but proper care can extend their lifespan to 20 or even 30 years. Now let's talk about breeding goldfish. If you're planning on breeding goldfish, you lions need at least a 55-gallon tank for the adults and a separate 20-gallon tank for the babies. As goldfish are cold water breeders, the key to success is mimicking natural conditions. This means adding plants, rocks, and other decorations to create hiding places for the eggs and fry. Lions also need a source of clean flowing water like an air stone or a filter that is set on low. Goldfish are external fertilizers, which means that the male fertilizes the female by releasing his sperm into the water where the eggs are. This process is called spawning. Once the eggs are fertilized, they'll hatch into baby goldfish in about 2 weeks. You won't need to feed them right away, but after a week, you can start feeding them baby brine shrimp. When they're big enough to eat flakes, you can transfer them to the grow-out tank. If you plan on keeping them, you'll need to sex them to make sure you have a good ratio of males to females. Goldfish are sequential hermaphrodites, which means they can change sex depending on the environment. Typically, if there's more females than males, the males will reproduce. And if there's more males than females, the females will reproduce. Next, let's talk about some of the common diseases and parasites you might encounter. Goldfish are susceptible to a number of health problems, including fin rot, dropsy, and eek. Fin rot is a bacterial infection that causes the fins to become discolored and frayed. Dropsy is a condition in which the fish's scales pop out and the belly becomes bloated. Eek, on the other hand, is a parasitic infection that causes white spots to appear on the fish's body. Fortunately, all of these conditions can be treated with the proper medication. For fin rot, I like to use Canablex. This is a broad-spectrum antibiotic that will clear up the infection in about 2 weeks. Just be sure to follow the directions on the bottle. For dropsy, you can treat the symptoms by adding aquarium salt, or you can do a 50% water change and add some dechlorinated water. If that doesn't work, you can try using a medication like Maricin or Canablex. Finally, eek can be treated by raising the temperature to 80 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 weeks. You can then perform a 50 water change and add fresh dechlorinated water. If the fish are still showing signs of eek, you can repeat the process or use a medication like X or Paraquat. When it comes to predators, goldfish are relatively safe from most, but it's important to remember that they're not invincible. Large birds, snakes, turtles, and humans are probably the most common predators of goldfish. To prevent birds from getting in your pond, you can install netting or a fountain that sprays water upwards, which makes it difficult for birds to land. Snakes can be deterred by adding plants and rocks that make it hard for them to slither in. Finally, turtles can be kept with goldfish, but it's important to provide plenty of hiding places so the goldfish can escape. In conclusion, goldfish are a rewarding pet that can bring years of enjoyment. With proper care, they can live up to 20 years and are sure to entertain you with their antics. So if you're thinking about getting goldfish, be sure to do your research and make sure you can provide them with the care they need. We hope you enjoyed learning about goldfish, and we hope you'll consider adding one to your family. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Please like and subscribe.